Welcome back to the Nick Bartlett Show, everybody. The football show where a former benchwarmer basketball player breaks down some of today's college football games. So we're still in the midst of interviewing media and other personnel from Super West teams in regards to their non-conference opponents. And for today, we're going to be doing the Michigan State-Washington matchup, but we're going to be doing it just a little bit differently, and you'll see what we're going at here. So joining me on the show today is Zach Smith from the Waco Tribune-Herald. Thank you for coming on the show, Zach.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right. And so, guys, I've been doing these interviews for 2-3 years here now, and I've never been able to find a Michigan State writer. I found Georgia writers to work with me. I found Hawaii writers to work with me, and I found everything in between. I don't know if they don't like me. I don't know what it is, but in all seriousness, I understand protecting the brand. I went to Washington State University, and so I feel there's some similarities. I know Michigan State often gets overlooked for teams like Michigan, for teams like Ohio State, and I know we feel the same thing as a Cougar. We get overlooked by the Huskies. We get overlooked by the Ducks. So I understand trying to protect the brand. But what Zach is doing here today, he's helping me restore some faith in my people of East Lansing. Obviously, it's respect. They got their own culture. I went to Pullman. But in all seriousness, I'm grateful for his time. And what we're going to do here today is keep it really simple, really lighthearted, and it's not going to be the normal deep 30-minute dive. So with that, again, let's just get to it, man. Let's see what happens here. What's just kind of your general thoughts on Michigan State right now?
Yeah, vibes are very low, like not good right now. There was some hope after that a couple of years ago with Ken and Walker, and winning the Peach Bowl, beating Kenny Pickett and Pitt. Things were looking like they were going to turn around and kind of get back to what they were with when Mark D'Antonio and Kirk Cousins were winning Rose Bowls. But things have kind of gone the other way for Michigan State. Things, the secondary looks like it should be in the MAC, and the quarterback play has been not very good, and there's just so many questions to answer, and I just don't know if I don't have much faith that they will get sorted out in time for MSU to do anything in the really difficult Big Ten. So yeah, sorry to be a downer, but not vibes are not very good right now.
Yeah, and kind of speaking of the new Big Ten, I mean, 3 months ago, this matchup kind of felt random, and now we have the Big Ten matchup in Washington and Michigan State. How do you feel kind of the addition of the USC, the UCLA's, everyone who joined, blah, blah, blah? How do you feel all these teams joining will affect Michigan State's power position in the Big Ten?
Yeah, I think they were already kind of behind the 8 ball, behind Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, even Nebraska to some degree. I think with Matt Rule is going to do some really good things on the recruiting trail. But I know a lot of kids out west want to go to USC and Oregon, and those are where some of the recruits, that the diamonds in the rough that Michigan State has traditionally been able to kind of find. I think it's going to just make it so much harder for Michigan State to find those players with teams like Oregon and Washington. When you, in theory at least, even if the travel is insane, you're still going to a Big Ten school, as weird as it sounds. So I think it's going to be a real challenge for Michigan State to find a footing in the new Big Ten.
Yeah, and so kind of hopping back to this year, obviously we had to touch on that. What just one or two key things we should look for in offense this year? Key player, key name, just something like that.
I think Noah Kim, right, or whoever the quarterback. My guess is it's going to be Noah Kim is going to be starting for Michigan State. Obviously, Peyton Thorne transferred to Auburn, but Noah Kim's kind of the guy, and he's been sitting there. He's been in Mel Tucker's system. He knows. I hope he knows what he's doing, and just can he fill those shoes? They're not the biggest shoes to fill, but Peyton Thorne had some success, at least, even if it was on the back of Kenneth Walker. So I think Noah Kim is a big name to know at quarterback. And then, who is going to be the receiver? Keon Coleman transferred to Florida State. again, not to keep the vibes low. Everybody's leaving Michigan State, but who's going to step up at receiver? Malik Carr, he's kind of a receiver tight end guy. Those are a couple offensive names to know, but I know Antonio Gates Jr. He's a name at Michigan State. So those, it's just kind of like a hodgepodge of like throw something at a wall and see what works. I think so. Yeah.
Perfect. And then, no, I mean, it sounds like they got one or two pieces. Doesn't sound like they have kind of like a full offense sort of thing.
Right.
So obviously, being out here in the Northwest and covering the Pac-12 as long as that conference is still around, we had a little familiarity with Mel Tucker. Why do you feel he's kind of lost just some momentum with the program?
Man, that's a tough question, right? I think it's I mean, is it too easy to just point to Kenneth Walker and be like, he's gone, so like there's your momentum. When he left, they couldn't refine. Like Kenneth Walker was a superstar. Obviously, you see, he's doing it with the Seahawks. He did it at Michigan State, but they haven't been able to like replace him in any way. Like it's been just negative. Like there's been no even close to replacing him. So, yeah, I think obviously Mel Tucker knows how to coach, right? He did it in the NFL for a little bit. He did it at Colorado. Did he do it for a year at Colorado?
One exactly.
Exactly one year. Yeah. So I don't think Mel Tucker's a bad coach, but I think he just got so lucky finding Kenneth Walker that first year and bringing Kenneth Walker with him, I think, right? And he just hasn't been able to capture that magic again, and it's only getting bleaker and bleaker for him.
Yeah, so it sounds like the offense just never really been able to revitalize it with Kenneth obviously going to the Seahawks out here in Seattle, and then Thorne going down to Auburn. I think we actually did a little bit of I did an Auburn Cal preview a while ago, and I know that I don't want to say they were super hyped, but they were cautiously optimistic is the way I'll put it.
Peyton Thorne is not the most exciting quarterback. He is a quarterback, but probably nothing more than a quarterback.
Fair enough. And then I know you touched on Michigan State's secondary at the very top, had a bunch of weaknesses. That concerns me a little bit for this matchup. Washington's strength is going to be their receiving core. They got Rome Odunze, Jalen Polk, and blanking on the last guy. He's super good. My bad, but blanking on the third player. But bottom line is they have a trio of dominant receivers. So if Michigan State struggles in the secondary, that could really hurt them. And then I know if I didn't make it clear at the top, Zach is a Michigan State alum, so this is why he's helping me out. We're doing the fan perspective here again, a little bit different, which I kind of prefer a little bit after doing 700 interviews, from the media standpoint. But hopping over, the one thing I look at Washington is they have a really, really dominant, or what should prove a dominant defensive line this year, particularly at pass rushes. Does Michigan State, if this is a little too much, just let me know, but does Michigan State have a reasonable offensive line, or is it an area of concern?
I think it's intriguing. Offensive line or defensive line?
I said offensive line, but if you want a hot defense line, I'm cool with that too.
No. I think offensive line has at least some good depth, right? I just don't know if it's, there's experience, there's depth there with who is it? Nick Samak, I think his name is. He's really good at center. I know he's been hurt, so I know that Michigan State, at least on the offensive line, does have some depth. But like, who's going to be throwing the ball and who's going to be running the ball? There's so many other questions that you can have the best offensive line. Maybe that'll make lemons out of lemonade or lemonade out of lemons. Did I get that backwards? I don't know. I think that maybe offensive line is the bright spot of the offense, but I don't know if that's saying much.
Fair enough. So what it sounds like here, and it sounds like from the fan perspective, you really want Michigan State to be good. It sounds like they're really just kind of, at least on paper at this point, lacking talent in comparison to Washington, at least. Again, Washington.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Washington, I think, is going to be – I think they're going to be in a playoff, like at least in that picture, right? And I think last year when Michigan State went to Washington, that was kind of the moment that we all saw how really well, at least from my perspective, I really saw how good Michael Penix was and how bad the Michigan State secondary was. So, and I think both of those things are true. I don't think it was just a one game thing. I think Michael Penix is a true Heisman candidate, and the MSU secondary is not very good. So,
Hey man, I know I put you on the spot here, asked you to do a fan take, but we've kind of covered a decent amount of the team here. So it looks like at quarterback, it seems like they could struggle a little bit, still trying to replace Kenneth Walker, and really just looking for some playmakers on offense. So what it seems like, offensive line could be good, and then it seems like the secondary will definitely need some room for improvement. So I guess if the last thing here, we somehow got this far, man. Appreciate it. The last thing here is anything or any maybe one or two notable names on the linebacker or on the defensive line.
yeah, defensive line. Let's see here. I know there was a 4-star player. Let's see. Roster. There. By Job. Baijobe. I'm not just saying by Joe. So like they've got some depth there, some talent. Like I said, a 4-star recruit, and then Texas A&M transfer. So I think that there's some potential there. There's momentum, at least in the trenches. I know back when I was in school, Michigan State dominated the trenches, and that's kind of what allowed players like Le'Veon Bell and Kirk Cousins to kind of cook. And Darqueze Dennard, who went on to have a long NFL career on the defensive side. But I sound like old man talking about a cloud. So like, yeah, there's some hope on the defensive line. There's some hope on the offensive line, and maybe that's a positive thing for MSU to kind of get back at least in the bowl picture, hopefully.
Yeah. All right. I think I think from a fan perspective, I think that's what we need here. And then just the last thing I got to ask, just as alumni of the school, just what are your thoughts about this program? You're talking about the general feel for everyone. It seems it may be a little bit down this year, but what's just your general feel? Do you can't so yeah, just kind of got a general feel how you're feeling, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I could not be more excited for football season. Right, I could not be more excited to be able to sit down and watch Michigan State, and I think that as negative as I might sound about where the program is headed or Mel Tucker, the quarterback and the secondary, like it's still Spartan football, right? There's still a level of expectations. It's not like I know Rutgers gets a bad rap. It's not like we're Rutgers, right? So like it could be worse, right? So I am still pumped for the season. I think the entire fan base is pumped for the season. There can be doom and gloom and end of the world stuff, and we would still show up and show out. So yeah, the vibes are low on campus or within the football building. They're not low right here. So yeah.
Fair enough, and that's what being a fan is all about. And I know you probably don't want to do it based off everything you told me, but do you have just a game prediction? Score is a little bit too early right now.
Yeah, Washington's gonna roll. Yeah, it's gonna be like let's say 41-10. Let's go that 41-10 Washington. Whatever the spread is, Washington's gonna cover and they're gonna roll. That's my guess.
All right, that's a little bit braver than me. You said 41-10. I'll do this may be my I feel that Michigan State maybe play a little better this year. I'll say 17-35. I think they might actually keep it close for a bit. Again, like you touched on, this is still state football, still Spartans football, and there are expectations. And even though Mel Tucker may not be finding the success, he found the immediate success, but consistent success. He coached in the NFL. He was the defensive coordinator, I believe, at Georgia when they won a national championship, and had his year at Colorado. So, he's been around and he's seen some things and played in big games. So, he's seen stages like this before. So, Yeah, guys. We survived the fan edition. I think Zach, saved my perspective on Michigan State football. And seriously, man, I'm grateful for your time. He just sat down with the interview before me for this and offered to do it. So got you covered. And that is probably we could do the reporter take where you can get we can talk about cornerback 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or we could get the real fan perspective. And that's what I felt like we got there. So again, seriously, thank you, Zach.
No problem. Happy to do it.
All right, guys. This has been the Nick Bartlett Show, and let your energy speak.